Hey guys, we're going to go into minimum staffing standards, like the number of employees that you have who are taking care of residents. This has a lot of test questions.
A lot of test questions from this section.
Okay. So let's pull up 59A, right? And here we go. And you're going to search for staffing standards, 59A 36.010, and then scroll down to staffing standards. Now this tells you how many staff hours need to be provided per number of residents. There are quiz questions. I'm not sure every quiz is going to have it, but we have heard that people said that there's a quiz question that says, you have this many residents, how many hours must you provide?
Right, and that's staff hours per week. So facilities must maintain the following minimum staffing hours per week. So you have to start at the 0 through 5 residents, and you need 168 hours a week, and then it increases there. So a good way to remember from the 0 to 5 is add 10 to the 5 for each one, and go 10, 5, 15, 25, 35, and so on. And that will give you a range of residents. And then your staffing hours increase. The first increase is 44 hours. After that, if you look, most of them are 41, except for when you get to that 46 through 55 range, and that's a 40-hour increase. So we made a little cheat sheet on the side for the increase. So I would memorize as much as you can on those.
Yeah, and that increase column that's not on 58A. When I took my state exam, they actually gave you the chart in the exam, and then they said, okay, you have I guess they took the chart out of the tests, and it's hard because look at the variations, 44, 41. So the first level, 0 to 5, the easiest way to you're starting at 168 hours base, because that's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. 24 times 7 is 168. And then for every 10 residents, like Cheryl said, you add on basically 41, except for the level 6 to 15, and then the level 46 to 55. It's confusing.
Right, and just to clarify, this chart is in 59A, so that's where the new rules have been moved over to, not 58.
You'll be correcting me forever, I know that.
Right. So every 20 combined residents, daycare participants, and respite care residents over 95, you have to add 42 staff hours per week.
For every 20,
right.
Yeah. Independent living residents who occupy beds included within the licensed capacity of an assisted living facility but do not receive personal limited nursing or ECC care services are not counted as residents for the purposes of computing minimum staffing hours. So on your resident census, like your sheet, when the state comes in, they're going to say, give me your resident census. I want a list of your residents. You will have a column that says independent. And don't be surprised if they go and check that person and see if they are independent.
At least one staff member who has access to the facility and resident records in case of an emergency must be in the facility at all times when residents are in the facility. Residents serving as paid or volunteer staff may not be left solely in charge of other residents while the facility administrator, manager, or other staff are absent from the facility. So here's a scenario that is near and dear to my heart. So ALCA showed up when we had our place, and they did an inspection at midnight. So Khalid and I weren't there. We were fast asleep, and we had a newborn, and that was probably the one night we didn't answer our phone because we were just so tired. However, we had already designated staff to have access to the facility records, so they didn't need to have us there, and they were able to get in and do their inspection and return in the morning and talk with us.
Yep. And it has to be written down, so you definitely want to make a log of it. But all your staff should know how to get access to the records and all that stuff.
Right.
Okay, in facilities with 17 or more residents, there it is again, 17 or more, 16 or less. there must be at least one staff member awake at all times of the day and night. Okay. 17 or more, awake staff. So there'll be a test question on that in one of the quizzes that you get. The one that you get might not have it, but just remember, somebody's got to be awake 17 or more. Okay?
A staff member has completed courses in CPR and first aid and holds a currently valid card documenting completion of such courses must be in the facility at all times. I recommend that everybody has first aid and CPR, so you're never without that person, but technically only one person needs it. And when they come in to do an inspection, they will ask for your timesheets and staffing cards and see who is on duty, and they want to see those cards to make sure that at least one person has it.
Yeah.
For each shift.
They'll see your schedule. So the best thing to do, everybody get trained in it, right?
Right.
And you're covered. And actually, it's probably a good thing. So a nurse is considered having met the requirements of first aid. An emergency medical technician or paramedic currently certified is considered to have met the course requirements for both first aid and CPR. During periods of temporary absence of the administrator or manager of more than 48 hours when residents are on the premises, a staff member who is at least 21 years of age must be physically present and designated in writing to be in charge of the facility. No staff member shall be in charge of the facility for a consecutive period of 21 days or more, or a total of 60 days within a calendar year, without being an administrator or manager. That's what Cheryl was saying. We had designated somebody in charge. Did we write it in their job description? So maybe something like that, or actually it was on the calendar. It was on the schedule.
Correct.
Maybe we put it on the schedule.
Manager in charge.
Yep. So your overnight staff, you would just write that on. Cheryl, number 7.
Staffs whose duties are exclusively building or ground maintenance, clerical, or food preparation do not count towards meeting the minimum staffing hours requirement. People who are working with the residents do. So you as the administrator can count your hours if you are helping with care, medication management, anything that pertains to your residents. You'll be able to count your hours.
Did you skip? You skipped 8?
I'm getting there right now.
Okay, I think that's what 8 is. The administrator or manager may be counted for the purpose of meeting the required staffing hours, provided the administrator or manager is actively involved in the day-to-day operation of the facility, including making decisions and providing supervision for all aspects of resident care, and is listed on the facility's staffing schedule. So if you're a small home, for example, I mean, you can count, you're there 5 days a week, you can count your 40 hours because you're probably doing all of those things, okay?
Only on-the-job staff may be counted in meeting the minimum staffing hours. Vacant positions or absent staff may not be counted. So make sure that you always have that minimum hours documented as people who are actually there on the job working.
Okay. Notwithstanding the minimum staffing requirements specified in paragraph A, all facilities, including those composed of apartments, must have enough qualified staff to provide resident supervision and to provide or arrange for resident services in accordance with the residents' scheduled and unscheduled service needs, resident contracts, and resident care standards. So, what that means is those staffing standards are out the window because you have to meet their needs based on contracts, resident care standards.
Right. So if somebody on their 1823 health assessment form says they require 4 people to transfer, then you must have 4 people available to assist them with transferring 24 hours a day.
Right.
So those are things you want to be careful of, being able to meet their needs, because you will be required to put the staffing in. It could cause a financial burden on you.
Or you have to get somebody, move them out quickly. So just because you're meeting the standards, so the state comes in and they say, they notice that maybe it appears they're not getting the care they need, and you say, well, look, I'm meeting the staffing standards according to the requirements, they'd say, nope, you're not meeting their needs as described in their contract and their care plans and everything else. So
the facility must maintain a written work schedule that reflects its 24-hour staffing pattern for a given time period. Upon the request, the facility must make the daily work schedules of direct care staff available to residents or their representatives.
Yeah. So if they ask you, you have to provide it. Yeah. The facility must provide staff immediately when the agency determines that the requirements of paragraph A, the minimum staffing requirements, are not met. So you need to increase your staffing as soon as if they say so. The facility must immediately increase staff above the minimum levels established in paragraph A if the agency determines that adequate supervision and care are not being provided to residents. Resident care standards described in Rule 58A, 59A, 10 years of saying 58A, are not being met, or that the facility is failing to meet the terms of residents' contracts. The agency will consult with the facility administrator and residents regarding any determination that additional staff is required. Based on the recommendations of the local fire safety authority, the agency may require additional staff when the facility fails to meet the fire safety standards described in Rule 69A, until such time as the local fire safety authority informs the agency that fire safety requirements are being met. So, fire marshal could come in, do an inspection, determine that your residents need more help than that's being provided in order to evacuate them, or an emergency situation, and then together with ACA they can implement.
Right, increase your hours, which is not fun. When additional staff is required above the minimum, the agency will require the submission of a corrective action plan within the time specified in the notification indicating how the increased staffing is to be achieved to meet residents' service needs. The plan will be reviewed by the agency to determine if it sufficiently increases the staffing levels to meet resident needs.
Yep. Number 2, when the facility can demonstrate to the agency that resident needs are being met, or that resident needs can be met without increased staffing, the agency may modify staffing requirements for the facility, and the facility will no longer be required to maintain a plan with the agency. So you would do that by changing the type of residence that you have, for example, right? E, facilities that are co-located with a nursing home may use shared staffing provided that the staff hours are only counted once for the purpose of meeting either the facility or the nursing home minimum staffing ratios.
Can't share your staff. Each hours have to be met.
Yeah, it says, but they can use the same person. They just have to.
Correct. Their hours need to be counted for each side.
Facilities holding LMH, ECC, or LNS services license must also comply with the staffing requirements, respectively. And we'll get into some of those requirements. But basically, if you're providing nursing services, you probably need a nurse. Okay. All right. That's it for now. Anything else on this? This is an important section, so take your time, go back through it. You'll find quiz questions on that. But if you know your rules, then whatever scenario they throw at you in the quiz questions, you should be okay.